Welcome to World Talk Brief. Right now, a pretty serious diplomatic firestorm is brewing between the United States and some of its closest European allies. And the cause? Well, it's an unexpected and frankly audacious demand that's all centered on the world's largest island, Greenland.
Europe will not be blackmailed. Wow, those are some pretty defiant words from Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen. And that one sentence, it really just perfectly captures this unified European response to a stunning demand from Washington, a demand that's putting some serious strain on the transatlantic alliance.
So, how in the world did we get here? I mean, that powerful quote from the Danish Prime Minister didn't just come out of nowhere. It's really the climax of a super tense standoff that all started with a bold and, to many, a completely unprecedented proposal from the US. Let's unpack how this one idea just spiraled into a major diplomatic conflict.
All right, to really get the reaction, we first need to understand the action that caused it. So, let's get right to it. What exactly was the American proposal that put these long-standing allies on a collision course? This whole standoff, it really hinges on one core demand from the Trump administration. So let's break down not just what was proposed, but also the threat that came with it when the initial idea was met with a very firm no. The proposal itself was just stunningly direct. The United States wanted to acquire Greenland. Now, the official justification was all about national security, but it was the implied threat that really raised eyebrows everywhere. Washington basically made it clear it would get the territory either the easy way through some kind of deal or, well, the hard way.
And when both Denmark and Greenland flatly rejected the idea, which they did, the whole situation escalated fast. The U.S. retaliated by attaching a really serious economic threat to its demand. It turned what was a diplomatic request into a high-pressure ultimatum, with a deadline in February.
And you know, this threat wasn't just aimed at Denmark. The ultimatum was actually issued to a whole coalition of 8 key American allies in Europe. We're talking Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, the Netherlands, Norway, Sweden, and the United Kingdom. This just massively widened the scope of the whole dispute. And this threat, it had some serious teeth. The U.S. warned of an initial 10% tariff on goods from all 8 of those nations, with the potential to jack it up to 25% until a deal was reached. I mean, that's a massive economic weapon to aim at some of your closest partners. The president himself underscored just how serious the American position was with this pretty stark warning. He framed the European opposition as a dangerous game with risks that just weren't sustainable for global security.
You know, a threat of this magnitude could have easily fractured these alliances, but instead it seems to have had the exact opposite effect, sparking a remarkably coordinated and unified response from all across Europe.
And that united front was crystal clear. All 8 nations put out a joint statement calling the threats a danger to the entire transatlantic relationship. And individually, leaders were just as firm. The UK's Keir Starmer called it wrong. Norway's foreign minister declared sovereignty non-negotiable, and France's President Macron even started talking about activating the EU's defensive anti-coercion tool.
So this brings us to the crucial question at the heart of all this, right? Why Greenland? What is it about this sparsely populated, mostly ice-covered island that's so important it's become the focal point of a major international incident?
Well, the answer really lies in Greenland's immense strategic value. It's not just a huge piece of land. Its location and its resources make it an absolutely critical prize in the Arctic, a region that's seeing more and more geopolitical competition.
Geographically, Greenland sits in this critical spot, right between North America and Europe. This makes it the perfect location for things like missile early warning systems and for monitoring all the naval and shipping activity in the Arctic, which is becoming more and more accessible. And on top of all that, it's also known to be rich in natural resources.
But what about the people who actually live there? What do they think? Well, a recent poll from January of 2025 is incredibly clear. An overwhelming 85% of Greenlanders are against the idea of joining the United States. Only 6% are in favor. So this is not a divided population. Public opinion is decisively, firmly opposed.
And here's where it gets really fascinating. Take a look at public opinion in the United States. According to a Reuters/Ipsos poll, there's no real popular support there either. A plurality of Americans, 47%, actually oppose the idea, with only 17% in favor. It just shows this huge disconnect between the administration's priorities and what the American people seem to want.
So, with both sides standing firm, where does this standoff go from here?
Well, the next potential flashpoint is just days away, at the annual gathering of global leaders and business execs at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland.
I mean, the escalation here has been incredibly rapid. You go from the poll in January to the tariff threat just last week, and then the European response over the weekend. Events are moving at lightning speed. And this Wednesday, all the key players, President Trump, leaders from France, Germany, the EU, they're all going to be in the same room.
And here is the great irony of the whole moment. The official theme for this year's Davos conference is, and you can't make this up, how can we cooperate in a more contested world? It's a question that is literally going to be hanging over the entire event as this very public contest between allies plays out in real time.
Which leaves us with a really fundamental question. This whole standoff over Greenland is a test case, really, for the strength of these alliances. In an increasingly contested world, will diplomacy win out, or will economic threats just become the new normal, even between friends? I guess all eyes are on Davos for the first signs of an answer. Subscribe to World Talk Brief for more clear, thoughtful explanations. World Talk Brief, news explained without the noise.